Good morning. Hello, Viviana. Wait a second for other people to come in and see if I can get logged into my slow computer over here. Yeah, decided to come up this morning. It's my old system. It's like a 2006 system, and it's really, really slow. So, go into a fresh YouTube and pull my current page. Okay. My pop out chat up so I can see it. I had a 22-inch computer over here. It's my old ancient computer. And such vision problems. It's hard to see the chat on the little screen on my small computer. Okay. Hey, Snow Wolf. I'll give you a call after the program. Hi, Constant. Hi, Vivian. Okay, well, as everybody knows, I am a psychic and I'm a medium. One of the, I would call it a gift sometimes, and I would call it a not so great of a gift other times. I'm very visionary, very lucid dreams and very psychic dreams. And the last 2 nights I have had some, usually I have them way in advance, which is weird when I dream about the invasion of Ukraine the night before last. And then I turn on the news and watch the news feed in the morning and see what I dreamt about in really vivid color on the news feed. Sort of scares me because it's like real-time vision rather than like an advanced view. But last night dream was more advanced. Well, it was real time too. I was seeing the airstrikes going into could be even several of the major cities around the Ukraine by Russia. Airstrikes, very targeted airstrikes. They're not hitting civilians. They were hitting military outposts, taking down areas where they had arms storage, soldiers housed, that type of thing. But I'm not seeing fighting back, which seems a bit strange. I think my feeling was that Ukraine isn't wanting to immediately strike back to allow the world to see the fact that this is Russia aggressiveness. This isn't Ukraine shooting out in the fields and provoking it. But I do think that they will be striking back, pretty quickly now. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to fight. I have a lot of concerns for the surrounding countries. I think this is step one. Russia's going to try to take Ukraine, literally just take it over, take out anybody of importance in Ukraine. He's got a hit list going on who he wants targeted, killed on site, and or captured and placed in custody of the Russian people. My guess is they'll probably do more of the killing on site than holding government officials at bay. I was doing some research, a little bit of research this morning, because I was wondering where Turkey was standing in all this, with all the stuff going on during the Trump administration between Turkey and Russia and Trump and Mike Flynn and all that involvement, and involvement with our Secretary of States in those parts of the world, and what kind of agreements were made. I always wonder if there's under the table agreements that were made by Trump that even our Congress and Senate might not be fully aware of, that are in writing. it always makes me question. Oh, hi Clarence, hi Patty G, hi Tony. I'm gonna say hi to everybody that's come in. Constant, Vivian. So I have a lot of concerns about that. But when I was doing my research, there are some agreements between Russia and Turkey, but Turkey is taking a stand with NATO because they are part of NATO. They do not want Russia to take over the Black Sea, and or they're against him going in and taking over Crimea in 2014 because it impacts trade agreements and water routes along Turkey's um, um, shipping fields as well. And they know it'll cause even more and more trade problems with that region of the country if Russia takes over a percentage of 50% of the shorelines of the Black Sea. So they're wanting to avoid that. What I did find out is that Turkey has been providing Ukraine with numerous different types of drone systems for military support, both with firepower and visual power to surveil and also use for airstrikes. So that is a trade agreement that they're doing, and Turkey is standing with the NATO allies at this point in time. I did catch a news flash. It wasn't part of my vision that Boris Johnson and the UK Parliament has thrown in an agreement to go all out, all forces against Russia financially now. They're going to cut them off at the throat. Financial trade going into Russia, with apologies to the people of Russia who are getting caught up in this, but they have to cut the financial resources completely off to Russia and chokehold them to try to get a little bit more power under this. And they're going in all full on. And the parliament seems to be in full agreement. They also announced that they would be not only supporting them on the extreme sanctions at this point in time, moving forward extreme sanctions, but they will be providing arms and military backing into Ukraine as needed. So they're throwing in the hat. I'm not feeling good about this at all. I think that this is only the beginning of. I honestly think Putin's a madman right now. He is losing it. He is trying to become a Stalin and retake all of the old USSR. And I think there's a lot of fear in Poland and Bosnia and all the surrounding countries that have all been part of the USSR regime at some point in time and have freed themselves and become NATO countries. They're all fearing that they're next. And the United States, I think, will end up with military in Ukraine before it's over. We're trying to avoid that, but we're definitely standing on the borders in all the surrounding countries to protect them. And we're moving more and more forces in around the surrounding countries. It's sort of interesting if you look at the map of how that's laying out and where the NATO countries are surrounding them. Putin's completely in the middle, surrounded as he invades into Ukraine, and he's got NATO forces completely surrounding him. So logically, if NATO decides to take a military stance and join in to help fight Russians in Ukraine, which I think it will be NATO forces that do that and not each nation's individual soldiers. It'll be the soldiers that are dedicated into the NATO armed services that does that. Then, this is a possibility that it could trigger another world war. I think, the purpose of NATO is we don't want to go backwards. We want to stop him before it becomes such a thing. Nobody wants another world war. We just can't do that. I don't think it's us or the NATO that's going to take Putin out. I think it's his own people. I think his people will be uprising. They did a bank run in the last 2 days, they have no more cash available, is what reporters are reporting in that are in Moscow right now. The bank runs, they're cashless. Everybody has taken all of the money out of the bank that they possibly could get their hands on. And the ruble is falling so fast that the cost of everything's rising so much that people are scrimmaging for supplies. He's putting his people in. He's putting his people in such suffrage so he can have more power. The few interviews I saw with English speaking, the American reporters were speaking to English speaking people in Moscow. They're not supporting Putin's action. And it seems to be a trend amongst those that they spoke to. All in the perspective of the reporters. So, we don't always know what everybody's thinking, but out of the sampling that they should show, and a lot of them have family in Ukraine. That doesn't make Ukraine part of Russia. They don't seem to be taking that stance of buying this. Ukraine should be part of us. I think they understand the freedoms in which and the democracy that Ukraine people are living under or trying to live under, and actually would like that themselves. So anyways, I do see more and more war. I see more and more invasion. I do see, I'm seeing hand to hand, a lot of loss of life, unfortunately. But the fighting will begin in the next, I would say, 24 hours, where Ukraine will be defending themselves, and they will have no choice to, because they can't allow Russia to come in and invade their country and just literally take over their government and take over the country. They can't allow that to happen, nor does any of the European nations want that to happen. We're not ready to go backwards in time into this divide in our world powers that was once there pre-World War II. So that's where my dreams are going. I'm not seeing this ending soon. I think it's in the process of escalating, anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, or possibly a little longer. But I do think that NATO will step in and support Ukraine and not allow Russia to literally take over the Ukrainian government or eliminate the Ukrainian government. I do feel like there is security forces in place to protect the sitting government right now. Just like in the United States and in any other country, when it starts, they put their leadership underground. They are going to have some telecommunication problems because, of course, Russia's going to go through and start messing with their communication systems if they haven't already. But I know they're trying to get in satellite communication systems to them because they didn't have a large availability of that, and that's something that is being brought in from the NATO countries to provide them that communication ability and get that distributed. I did see that in my vision that kind of communication systems, they'll get a lot of help in getting that back up. I'm just gonna look over here at the chat because I haven't been reading the chat. Oh, wow. Ukraine ambassador gives a statement and said that a Russia barrage surrendered to the UK forces. Well, that's good to know. I'm not sure that Russia's military forces are all that stable. I don't think that they're as gung-ho into this as Putin would like them to be. I mean, they're following their orders, but to what extent? I think there is some disapproval amongst the ranks in his forces. And of course, just like Trump, he's going to have a certain level of followers or not. Regarding Trump and Pompeo. Oh my God. I just wanted to, they need to cork those men. They just need to go ahead and bring charges up on Trump and put him in a cage and shut him up. And to the American people that are Trump followers, take a look at Russia and what he's doing right now. And you really want to live in a country that is ran under such suppression that your leadership would put your livelihood and your finances and your ability to have food and shelter at such a high risk for their riches, because that's how Russia's being ran by Putin and the oligarchs. I mean, we can really get real. Hey, Deb Z. If you want a sneak peek on what is going, what Trump's game plan was, just take a look at Russia. That's where he was wanting to take us. So I would hope that, that 30% of Trumpsters would open their eyes and really take a look at everything. Oh, thank you, Trina. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. And also, share my videos with your friends. I'm trying to get up to, both Dean and I are working on building our stations up, and we're trying to hit the 525 or just 500, because that locks in the community page opening, which allows us to post on our community page, provide more information, allow an outlet for people to share information and submit questions and stuff. We are both dedicated to giving, when each of us hit on our individual stations 525 viewers, we're going to be both giving away 5 free readings each. So like, subscribe, share our channel information, help us build our audience up. Dean and I are working on some different project planning that we'll announce as it comes open. We don't want to leak it out too soon. We want to thank everybody for the great support in our community as we build these programming, and we're trying to do things a little different than other community programs are doing. And as Dean says, I love politics. I wish you guys would give me more political questions or submit them to me in chats, and then I could do some more political videos, because I always get the minis, and I know we all get tired of the politics, but I really do enjoy it. I follow politics heavily. It's sort of my Piscean researcher in me that's always following politics. But I do not think this is going to be Armageddon war where we're going to destroy the world. I do think we have some reins on nuclear forces and things like that, where nobody's going to press the big button and just blow it up and say the heck with it. Elimination. I think we have agreements with NATO countries and stuff like that to prevent that kind of massive destruction. And we certainly don't want to go into any war where we're seeing Hiroshima happen again. I think we have learned from our past, nor do we want to allow Russia to invade Ukraine and decide that, anybody that's not Russian that is occupying Ukraine must be eliminated. No, those things we are not going to, as a world nation, a world power, a group of world powers will come together, and will not allow that to happen. So don't let your fears go in those directions, because I don't see that kind of extremist depopulation of our world happening. I am concerned with some of the sound wave type technologies that Russia's played with and things like that, where it does impact to the brain and things like that. I worry that maybe they have some of that technology that they may use and injure people with. I'm hoping not. But it is a technology that has been developed, and Russia is part of that technology, and that sonic wave technology that can impact people very traumatically and do a lot of damage. I'm hoping not. So anyways, that was my dream. It kept me up all night. Those of you that aren't clairvoyant and don't get psychic dreams, it's a blessing not to, when stuff like this start coming in and seeping in, because it's really hard to sleep at night when it's like being in a war zone physically, when I start having these kind of visions, and I know I've had 3 past lives where I was in World War One, World War II in a concentration camp, and then in early civil wars. And I sort of get a PTSD reaction when I'm having these kind of dreams of like, oh, I've been here, this can't happen again, type of feeling, and very unrestful sleep. And these come to me like I'm watching news feeds and documentaries. So they're very, very vivid, real time. It's like I'm standing, I'm above it watching it, or I'm on the ground watching it through like the lens of the camera. And it's coming in motion at me, and there's no place to hide. There's, and of course I can't get hurt in them, but it still doesn't give you that sense of, oh my gosh, I need to wake up. I can't wake up, and it's really, really, really unrestful. When I stopped having the dreams, I remember rolling over this morning about 3:00, it was a little after 3:30, and just like going, oh my God, it's not morning yet. And rolling over and trying to go back to sleep. And then I did manage to fall asleep and quit dreaming for a while, till somehow the cat got in. The plus side is, when I did wander out, I slept till 6, which is really unusual for me to be in bed at 6 in the morning, because I usually get up at 4:30 or 5:30 at the latest. My husband was making waffles and bacon and eggs for breakfast. Really, really unusual. So I was delighted. I'm like, oh, honey, thank you. It's so sweet. And he even cleaned up after himself, which was amazing. And did a load of dishes this morning before he even started. So I had a good morning, other than my bad night dreams. But I wanted to come on this morning and get this broadcasted, because I saw Linda G come up, and I started to watch about 5 minutes into it and said hello. And I said, ugh, all the psychic dreams are driving me crazy, in her chat. And I went, I need to go on rather than watch her, go on, tell what I've seen, and get that out there and broadcast it before I'm picking up on information that the other psychics are getting and getting mixed up. But yeah, it was a crazy night the last 2 nights, and I may take a nap this afternoon, hoping I don't dream while I'm napping. And then Dean and I will probably do a show, more of a casual show of non-politics. I think we did do some politics last night. It was fun. Having a lot of fun working with Dean and Trina when I get a chance to work with Trina. She's here in the chat. Hi, Trina. Nice to see you. And it's going to be an interesting year coming up to see where we go. I do think that I haven't caught much of any of the major GOPs talking about this. I think they would be smart, if they plan on getting reelected, to keep their mouth shut on where they stand on it. Not that I want them reelected, but to take a stand with Trump and Russia, I think, and more power to them, I think it's going to cause them to shoot themselves in the foot for the election. So yeah, if they want to do that and stand up and say how wonderful Russia is, then go right ahead. It'll open some more seats up for Democrats for easy wins. But anyways, I think more than anything, I think the GOP is just criticizing how effectively Biden is going in and doing what Trump wanted to be able to do. If the shoe was on the other foot, and it was 3 years ago, would have our troops been joining forces with Russia per orders of Trump? Makes you wonder. As much time as he spent putting down NATO and trying to break our agreements with NATO and get us out of NATO and all that. Scary, scary, scary thought of where somebody like Trump could have taken this country. And I do hope that this awakens a lot of people to make sure, regardless of what's going on in your state, and it's varying from state to state on how voting's going to do, is get out there and vote. Carefully watch your candidates. Who's going up? Where have they stand in the past? Where do they stand now? What are their political views? Get out there and vote. Who's going to represent you the best? And don't deter anybody from allowing you to get to the polls. In states that are putting in restrictions and making it difficult for people that would normally mail in vote, if you have a neighbor, an elderly person, somebody you know would be normally a mail-in voter, find out if they can mail in vote, and if not, offer them rides to the polls, so that they can get their votes in. I know it can be difficult, but everybody needs to have their voice in it. And so it's very important that we carefully follow who's running in office, where they've stood in the past and where they're currently standing now, because I do think there will be some Republicans that change party. Are they changing party just to get elected as a Democrat and still hold Republican, extreme Republican views? Or are they truly changing parties because they're not believing the direction in which the party is going? We do need to watch out for those type of things. I do think that there will be some that do cross that line. Last thing we need is a bunch of munchins and cinemas joining the Democratic Party and throwing rocks in the system, not allowing us to get anything done. But it's all of us up to us to do our due diligence in watching who's racing in our area, who's going in for those offices, both at the federal level, but also at your state and local levels. The state and local levels are being just as impacted as the federal levels, and those are stepping stones into federal offices. The state and local offices are how they get to Washington. They start out young and then work their way through the system. It's part of that training process, that educational process into politics. So thank you all for coming. Did anybody have any questions for me that I could read on? Because I wasn't going to throw any cards on my dream. My dream sort of stands on itself, and God, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this, doesn't last 2 years, that there's not massive loss of life in the process, because the last thing we want is to see another war and see people going under this. Deb's waiting for the vampire lab. That's funny, because I always call my lab tech a vampire too. I think come try your mom's blood. I give it out by the gallons. I always tell them that, why don't you take an extra set for next time, then I don't have to come in. They always laugh. No, we'll need fresh blood. I said, yeah, that figures. Yeah, I got my coffee. I brewed a big pot this morning of salted caramel coffee. Yum. I'm a diabetic, so I don't get all the good sweets, but I get the flavored coffee doesn't kill me. But I did have my husband made from scratch blueberry waffles, sliced bacon, which I had one piece because I don't do meat, but it smelled so good I had to have a piece. And then I made myself an egg because he didn't think about making eggs to go with it. He's handing me 4 waffles, those little tiny Eggos. We have one of those little mini $10 waffle makers, which I think I love, because you can make, you can do like little sandwiches in them too. And he made those, and he gives me a stack of 4. I said, really, you think I can eat that much? He goes, sure, why not? It's just 4 waffles. I'm like, honey, I'll be lucky if I can eat an egg and a piece of, So I've had gastric surgery years ago, like 20 years ago. And so I still have a really small stomach. So I don't eat large amounts of foods, and I don't eat meat because my body won't process it. So, yeah, a little bit goes a long way. So I said, well, I'll snack on the other ones later, but they were really good. And he found that I make blueberry muffins, and I have big bags of blueberry. He found all my blueberries in the freezer this morning. So it was really good. Very sweet of my husband. Very rare that my husband gets in there and does more than barbecue ribs and a tri-tip. That's about all the cooking he does normally. And nobody has any questions for me this morning, because I would be happy to throw cards, even if you want to throw some personals in. I'm sort of in that mode now. I'm up moving. Yeah, the bacon tasted really good because I bought that. I buy that. I ate a lot of beans. I love my Instant Pot, and I do all different kinds of different bean dishes. So I buy that slab bacon that's in the big packs, because I use it for the base of my beans, because I chop it up really fine and saute my onions in that and the bacon fat and get that flavor into the beans without having to put a lot of meat in there. I also use a lot of the smoked ham hocks that have meat, because once they dissolve down, the meat's really shreddy fine. And so I'm not eating chunks of meat, and it doesn't bother me. But yeah, I'm a carnivore at heart. Give me a thick steak and I'd be happy. I just can't eat them anymore. But yeah, my husband has a soft side. He's a little Cancerian that thinks that his wife should be his mama. And so when he does something like this for breakfast, it's such a surprise. And he was feeling all good about himself this morning. And as he walks and puts his dishes in the sink and actually runs water over them, mind you, he even rinsed his dishes, not just set the dirty dish in the sink. He says, "Thank you for breakfast. It was so good." I said, "I thanked you already. I thanked you like 4 times." But yeah, I think my husband's turning over a new leaf. And then he went out and ran to the store and came home with a great big bone for the dog. I wonder what he's up to. But anyways, yeah, the morning was interesting, to say the least. And after all my dreams last night, it was sort of very welcoming to wake up to a nice breakfast. So, oh, thank you for getting rid of the troll. I never see the trolls. I appreciate it though. Thanks, Deb Z. And if we don't have any questions, then I'm going to end the broadcast and come back on a little later. I'm getting my morning spam. I don't know why they think I want to hear from them. I get more spam calls than I do personal calls, which is really irritating. And I hate the thought of having to buy one of those stupid programs and pay somebody to screen my spam calls. But I think I'm going to have to, because it's getting really, really, really bad. Roger is doing really good from his back surgery. He said to me, "I don't know why I can feel this rod in my back." I said, "Because you have a rod in your back now, and it'll always be there. That's why you're feeling it." Yeah, all the swelling and tenderness around his back has gone away. He's getting more and more mobile. He still has a problem putting socks on and shoes. He wears his work boots a lot because he can bend over far enough to get them laced up and tied without having to have me help him. And I've noticed that doing laundry, he's wearing his old stretched out socks now because they're easier to put on. That was hilarious. Holes and all. And he used to always throw them out. So I think it's sort of funny. But I don't blame him, because I know him asking me to help him put his shoes and socks on every day makes him feel very frustrated, to do such a simple task and have to have help for it. And, he's 63 years old. He's not old enough to be old yet. And he's keeping him down for this last 3 years has been extremely difficult. Because my husband's one of those people that gets up and starts working, and he doesn't stop till the sun goes down and he collapses in bed. He's a plumber by trade. He worked 24/7 on call, ran a company. They also did not only plumbing contracts, but they did some construction contract work too. So he had crews of 17 that we coordinated. I kept fleets together and all that. And obviously, I didn't have anything to do with business. When I started dating him, I took over the books and I actually started going on jobs with him. So I'm that tomboy. So yeah. And it was funny. I never get to see him if I didn't go on jobs with him when we were dating. But we've been together 16 years. So it's been a fun ride. And we're looking forward to hopefully sometime this year getting our yards put back together. We're in the process of re-landscaping, and we're going to be putting our house on the market here in Central California. And we're going to be trying to move back east into the Pennsylvania area, where our daughter has moved with our 4 grandchildren that we're missing tremendously. And then after my son-in-law gets through law school, they're going to relocate from Pennsylvania over to Virginia. So at least we'll be in a couple hour, a 4 to 6 hour drive from each other, which is not so bad. 2000 makes it really difficult to see my grandkids. And my grandkids are I got 8, 5, 4, and 1. So, and the 1-year-old, I was there when he was born. And of course, I think a lot of people were with me on that one. As I was in Vegas for a month while my daughter was in labor for 3 weeks straight before she finally had him. We almost lost him at birth, but he survived despite the doctors. Did have a good medical team. He was born with his umbilical cord. He was literally hogtied, umbilical cord wrapped around his back, around his neck, going down his back, and had him hogtied at his ankles. And he was purple. He was born purple, and they revived him. And beautiful, beautiful, cutest little Chester cat redhead you've ever seen. He's nothing but a ham. So I have really great grandkids. I have a drama queen, and my oldest one's me, poor girl. And she pays the price for it because her mom knows she's so much like me, and she gets in trouble for acting like her grandma. That's a mother-daughter thing. But she is a sweet girl, very bright. My second granddaughter is a drama queen, loves to sing. She makes up stories, songs, and all drama. Strikingly beautiful young girl, and a manipulator like my sister. And we're on to her, and she never wins that battle. So, and then my oldest grandson is we think he's on the autistic spectrum. Very bright, but a little bit of an introvert. He is very, very social, though. So he's got the Asperger's spectrum of autism. But it's going to be interesting to see how he develops, because he's extremely mathematical and mechanically inclined. Which is interesting because both his mom and dad are brainiacs, and his dad's my son-in-law's becoming an attorney. He's got 2 master's degrees, working at his doctorate at law right now, and is heading that direction. I really could see him becoming a politician. My daughter's going, no, don't want to be a politician's wife. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm missing my family. And I just sent them a huge package. And then I've got another package to send about t-shirts for all the kids. My Jameson, my oldest grandson, thinks he's Spider-Man. And of course, their dad is full Irish. So we found Spider-Man, the spider emblem done in 4-leaf clovers. And my daughter said, do they have this in your area? Because I can't find them anywhere here. And we had them in stock. So I went down and picked him up, Spider-Man, more Spider-Man stuff, and picked up the girls some really cute t-shirts, tie-dye t-shirts and stuff for for St. Patrick's Day, because they do a big St. Patrick's Day in their family. Can't figure that one out. It's all bad. We're Irish too, so we're Irish and Scottish on my side, and then they're full Irish on their dad's side. So yeah, they celebrate that holiday big time. But anyways, I'm gonna go. Everybody have a great day. Watch for us coming live on Knowing Dean and I. We will do probably do a jump on this afternoon. We've been doing a lot of AbLib lives. So just watch for us. We'll put a notice out probably about a half hour before we jump on, and we will talk later. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to add questions, political questions, into the chat. I can come back and read on those. I'll do it live and just bring the list of questions that you submit. And I really do miss doing the politicals. So if you want me to do political readings, I would be happy to start doing them more and more. I make lists all the time, and I actually have several lists going on. Some of the questions will be outdated now, but some of them will be very current, and I can throw some of those in. I know there's a lot of political readers, and we get a little overwhelmed on the politics, but I do have fun doing them. So, and somebody had asked me a question the other night on Dean's show about the two AGs that walked out, and I knew nothing about it. And I was getting a really weird reading, so I read it like I was feeling it, thinking there's some involvement about the NYPD, or not NYPD, the DA in the federal DA that just took over had two prosecutors walk out, and I hadn't seen anything on the story. So when I threw it, I thought something's wrong. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's the prosecutors that had an issue. But then after I saw the news footage, I'm thinking that I read that backwards. I think the issue is with the new DA that's taken over that doesn't want to do the prosecution on Trump. And I think it's political pressure from Trumpian politicians and stuff, putting pressure on him not to go after him federally. They walked out in principle of they're not supporting his decision not to move forward on this. I'm not sure he's made a complete decision yet, but I think there is a lot of political pressure going on as he's taking over this case. So I think as he dives deeper into the information that's available, and also more of what comes up with the Letitia James civil investigations, I don't think he's going to have any choice, because these are what they're looking at is the financial side, tax evasion, money laundering, RICO laws, fraud. I don't think he's going to not be able to legitimately look at those, regardless of what the outside pressures of GOPs. And I know he's not a GOP, but that doesn't mean that they can't go in and put a lot of political pressure on him. I think there's issues that's underlying that he hasn't got the research done completely to support where he's currently standing. And I think those prosecutors literally have taken a stand in objection, because they can't walk up to the podium and say, hey, this is what we've got. They aren't permitted to release that kind of information. So them taking a walkout stand as prosecutors doing the investigation of this case is saying volumes. It's saying what they can't walk up to the podium and say out loud. It's giving the public an indicator that he is not taking a complete look at this. And it's their way of saying, hey, over here, don't allow him to ignore this. Put pressure, public pressure, etc., on him to completely continue this investigation and move forward as required under the law. So I think that's where that political standout, and I am happy to admit when I am way off on something, and that one I do believe after when I was after we got offline about an hour later, I was laying down and I threw my phone on and I saw the article finally on what was going on, and I watched it and I went, oh wow, did I get that wrong? In fact, Dean had already gone to bed, and so I had texted him and I said, boy, did I read that one wrong. So, and I'll make an announcement on Dean's channel also that one was way off, because we had a couple people asking some pretty serious questions. But yeah, I'm glad to admit that I was off on that one, because I was thinking it was maybe the two prosecutors that were compromised that were walking away. And no, I think I don't think that the DA is compromised. I think he's under a hell of a lot of pressure. And so he's taking a step back, and I don't know how far back he's going. I don't think he's actually stopping the investigation. I just don't think he's committing to the indictments yet. But I do see, I do think that'll turn around, and this, maybe tomorrow I'll come on and do some throws on that. Where is that going to go? Because I know Letitia James is moving forward with hers, and I can't see the state going in and saying, yes, there's fraud, there's tax evasion, there's this, there's that, there's the other, and the federal government not taking the same stance, because we're talking about a hell of a lot of tax fraud, both at the federal level and the state level. State property taxes and stuff like that. He's manipulated his numbers so vastly that it's just ridiculous. And we all have to pay our taxes, and he should have to pay his too. All of them should. So anyways, thank you, Vivian, for posting and asking people to like and subscribe and posting the channel information. Hi, Bad Boy Rob. You should text me. And anyways, everybody have a great day. Enjoy your afternoon. Don't put too much stress into worrying about politics and our world governments. I think they will work it out. Same thing with our DOJ and the New York prosecutors, along with the Georgia prosecutors. They've got their game on. They're following their correct political paths and their life contracts. I do think they will continue to move forward. I do see indictments coming out sometime in the next year for Trump. Not as fast as we'd like to see them, but they will come. Jail's a whole nother story, but then I've talked about that for the last several years, both on my channel and in chat rooms on numerous different readers' channels. Don't see good outcomes for Trump in the next couple of years. I'm not sure it'll be a state funeral, but I'm not sure he's going to, with all this stress and his great eating habits and all that, I don't see that he's got good health working on this side. So anyways, I love you all. I will see you later in the day, probably later this afternoon on Hermit's Corner, and bless you all. And thank you for coming in today.